Despite everything you might think about the balance of the game, or the bugs that can happen and ruin your night, Dead by Daylight has always had a very solid art team. I really like every single original killer's design, and they are all unique, even if they are based and basically clones of another horror media character. Just take a look at Trapper, for example. He is based on Jason, and as such, he's probably the most generic, simple killer design in the game. Even his perks are simple, and his power is to put a bear trap on the ground. There's nothing groundbreaking about Trapper, yet the genius in his design comes from the simplicity of all of it. When you look at his back, you know that this guy does not mess around, and if you know more of the lore, you would know that he fought the entity but lost. Just with a simple design choice, Trapper becomes from one of the most generic killers in the game to a very unique one, and that also goes for his perks and his map. He owned a mining company, so he gets a mine as a map. He's a metal worker, so he gets an iron forgery as a map. He's a brute, so he gets brutal strength. He's intimidating, so he gets unnerving presence. The only two issues I have with Trapper's design is a smile on his mask, which is not explained anywhere in his lore as far as I know, and the perk Agitation, since that perk fits somebody who is enjoying the work they are doing for the entity. As such, a perk like Iron Grasp would fit Trapper better by design. Now, some of you might say that then we must change the icon, because it has the Trapper's iconic smile, but the perk Unrelenting has the raised weapon, and yet it's a global perk, just like the change I want to make for Agitation. And talking about Wraith, his design does not make any sense at all. Let me explain. Take a random person on a room that knows nothing about Dead by Daylight, and show all original realms to that person. Then, choose the original killers and ask them which realm belongs to which killer. Is there any person that would say that the Wraith fits on a car wrecker? There's basically no connection for the Wraith's power, add-on or visual design that connects him to Autohaven wreckers. The only part is the lore, which in all honesty, it's a mess. Wraith is a very unique character, and compared to the rest of the cast, in my opinion, he does not make any sense design-wise, and is a clear example of being a product of its time. Let's start first with the visual design of the Wraith. I have already talked about this in the past, but I believe Wraith is heavily inspired by the Nayenesgani, a Navajo mythological hero who slayed monsters and evil. They look practically the same, and Wraith is one of the most tribal characters in the game by far. His clothing is tribal, his add-ons are all symbols and magic, and he's the only killer in the game that has all of his add-ons potentially drawn by himself. Also, let's not forget about his cosmetics in the game and his Nigerian nationality, which all in all makes this killer a tribal one. And that's pretty original. When was the last time you have seen a tribal horror figure? A killer inspired in tribal mythology, similar to the Wendigo, which is the hag. Now we go to his power, which is the Wailing Bell. He becomes invisible, and then hits the bell in order to become visible again, announcing the demise of survivors. He's inspired on the Grim Reaper, not only with his weapon, but also his overall theme. The bell announces the death of survivors, but at the same time, he's invisible, not there. He only appears when someone is about to die. He wears black colors and a black robe, which are colors similar to the common perception of the Grim Reaper. So his visual design, his power, and his add-ons all fit in order to make a unique, tribal Grim Reaper type of killer. But then, we go to the lore of this guy. An immigrant who was killing dudes without knowing it. And when he discovered it, he got so pissed he killed his mafia boss. Now he uses the skull of his mafia boss to chase survivors. Unlike literally any of the killers in the game, his visual design and map are the most distinct ones in the game. There's no connection visually, nothing. His add-ons are not mechanical parts like the car engine, a key, something that relates to his job, the last straw that made him become the monster he now is. Instead, it's symbols drawn in mud and blood, and his power makes no sense with the base lore we have of him. Where did he get that bell from? Why did he get it? The funny part of all of this is that we had no idea where the bell was from until Tome 4 Conviction was released, where it's revealed that it was a gift for him to warn his people of danger. But why would you give a kid a design with a skull that looks so creepy? Of course, that can be an artistic choice, so I am not going to nitpick that. But even with the new Tome lore, there's something that is not explained to us, which is the Wraith's visual design. No matter what happened at his job, The Wraith now suddenly has clothing that does not fit a Car Crusher employee or anything related to his new identity on America. He's a tribal monster. And most importantly of all, why does he have tree-like influences in his design? You can see tree branches on the head, along with a bark-like texture all over him. Even his blighted outfit, which is supposed to exaggerate the monster-like qualities of the killers that are injected with it, make him look more like a tree. It's undeniable that he has tree-like parts growing from him, but why? Where's that explained? And is his face a mask? Or his face? There are cosmetics that contradict each other, and even a concept art that makes no sense. If you take a look at his eyes, you can see that they are deep inside and it looks like a mask. He's expressionless, unlike the other killers. As of now, you can see that something is going on weirdly with Wraith. This is not limited to his final design, however. If you take a look at his concept art, he is the killer with the most drastic concept art in the game, with Trapper and Hillbilly having very similar designs to the end result. The Wraith has a completely different design where he is blonde and more human, and there's even more cosmetics to him that change him entirely. Wraith is also one of the only killers in the game that has a skin that fits his lore and completely eliminates almost all issues I have with Wraith, which is the mangled wrecker skin. It's literally perfect for Wraith, as it incorporates the car theme into his body, merging it forever with himself as a reminder of his accidental crimes in the past, and also incorporates the chains as dreads, which is a very clever way to connect his cultural background to his job. Now let me ask you a question, the audience. What do you think of everything I said? Do you agree with this? Do you think Wraith fits? I believe I convinced you that something with Wraith is wrong, but what if I told you that I have discovered something really weird? What if I told you today that I might change your mind on who the Wraith really was? I have some solid evidence supporting this weird, crazy theory. It is by far the craziest theory I have on Mysteries of the Fog, and I have never seen anybody talk about it, so I will let you decide by yourself if you believe my theory or not. First of all, I am going to show you two different concept arts of Dead by Daylight. The first one will be recognized by people that watched my crawler mystery video, that I recommend that you watch after you finish this one if you haven't yet. The second picture is one that most of you will probably see for the first time. Now let me ask you another question. What did you find in common in both of these pictures? Well, if you haven't noticed, both of these pictures represent a swamp environment, but the key thing here is that in both of these pictures, you can see the Wraith posing there. Why is this weird? Well, in concept art, behavior normally uses a default character just to give ambience to the artwork. However, in both of the concept arts for the swamp, Wraith appears on them. And what's weirder is that he's the only killer that appears completely defined in conceptual artwork. For example, in Autohaven's The Office artwork, we have some weird, generic dude, and on the mines, we have another generic person. Not Trapper, not Hillbilly, just silhouettes. But with the swamp, clearly it's Wraith who appears on them. Just as a fun fact, Hillbilly does not appear on any of the concepts in any place besides his official artwork. He's not there even in the new Dead by Daylight logo, which is really funny. So why is this fact so important? Well, this is part 1 of my theory. The second part needs a lot of context to explain, so let's not waste any more time. Most of you will know, but for the new ones, I will reveal something very curious. Back in the days, the killers of DVD had a different code name inside the files. You can to this day see some of the remnants inside the files of DVD. The Hillbilly was codenamed as The Crooked, Trapper was Chuckles, and if you watched my crawler video, you know that Hag is The Witch. The Wraith is a very curious case, because it has two codenames in the files. The first one is Banshee, which is for me weird since Banshees are normally female, right? And the Wraith is male. But the second name is the one that caught my eye the most, and it's the one that you can find in the game files. Bob. What a weird name. You know your old friend Bob, right? That's it. But this name actually holds a very big mystery. I hope you watched my facts you didn't know about Dead by Daylight with the Only Sword vid, because I talked about this on that vid. For those of you that didn't, I heavily recommend watching it after this video. Anyways, at the end of that vid, I showed two promotional artworks of Dead by Daylight before it was released. These art pieces were made after the race swap of Meg and Claudette, but before the final design of Dwight, where they made him a dweeb. On one of the pictures, we see Meg, Jake, Claudette, Dwight, and Trapper at the exit gates. It's clear it's Trapper not only because of the bear trap, but also because of the weapon design being so distinct for him. And then, on the second image, we have Meg dead on Hook, Claudette hiding in the locker, Dwight being carried, and... wait, who is this killer? When I asked that same question on the vid, I said that most of you might think this guy is Michael Myers, and that is still for me the killer that looks like him the most, even more than Jason. But there's something I have not mentioned in that video that I have always kept as a secret. Okay guys, this is off script. I could not find the tweets, I could not find the original ones, so the next thing that I'm going to say, I have no evidence for it, but you have to trust my word, and I promise you someone will find the tweets, I guarantee it. Anyways, back in 2016 or 2017, I remember on Twitter someone asked the devs who was that killer. I found it in a post that said that Myers was planned from the start on Reddit. Someone then showed a tweet of the developer answering that it's not Michael Myers, it's Bob. Yep, the same name that Wraith's codename is. At those times, I thought it was just a joke by the devs, and that's it, I didn't pay much attention to it. But now, I believe otherwise. This is where my theory comes. I believe that Bob and Wraith are actually two different killers, and that Bob was going to be the third original killer of Dead by Daylight. Now, let me explain. Wraith is just a weird character to be introduced as part of the Autohaven maps. He has nothing to do with cars, both in his add-ons, power, visual design. There is to this day no explanation as to why Wraith has wood-like parts on his body. The fact that Wraith also appears on the swamp map makes me believe that he originally belonged to the swamp. Another thing that supports my theory is Wraith's hooks on the art book. If you look at them, they have zero car pieces and are mostly made of rotting wood and bandages, something that would fit on a swamp map. No alternators, no engines, nothing. Even Hillbilly's hook design or Trapper's fit more in Autohaven. Then we have Bob. Sadly, this is the only official image we have of him, or even the only way we know he exists. Bob, with his visual design, looks like a parody of Myers, just like Hillbilly is a parody of Leatherface and Trapper of Jason. All of these killers are horror icons, so I believe Bob, with his coveralls, could have been a car mechanic. That would mean that Wraith was supposed to have the swamp, and Bob would have Autohaven. But what happened? What made this change? I believe that the Halloween license was agreed upon before the game even released, and that's when BHVR decided to do the quick switch. Instead of having Michael Myers and a Myers parody on the same game, they just removed Bob, started working on Wraith, and because they have not finished the swamp maps yet, they gave Autohaven to Wraith and quickly retconned his original lore to include the Realm connection. The game would then release on the 14th of June, including Trapper, Wraith, and Hillbilly, and later adding Nurse and Myers to the game, and finally finishing the swamp map and giving it to the Hag. You're probably thinking that this theory is way out of reach. Even Springtrap conspiracy theorists make better theories than mine. And honestly, you're probably right. After all, this is my explanation as to why Wraith has such a weird design issue and who is Bob. After all, maybe the devs always wanted to make the Wraith related to Autohaven. If only there was evidence of Wraith's old, more focused on trees and nature design, that would heavily support my claims of Wraith being a completely different design to what we have now. But that's a topic for another video. A video that is coming soon, so if you don't want to miss out on it, then please consider subscribing so you can know when it will be released. As always, thank you for watching my vid, and have a nice day.